What's up? I'm pulling an Instagram live feed too. Y'all can hear me all right, right? What's up? Supposedly, I was on Instagram live as well, and it killed me. I don't know what. I don't know what about the Instagram live video feed wants to kill your battery so bad. I literally had like 50% on my phone, and 10 minutes into the feed, it wants to kill it. What is going on here? Anyways, so figured I'd answer some questions for you guys if you have. I haven't really done I've done Instagram live and done Facebook live. I have not done the YouTube live, so I figured what the heck, and see if you guys have any questions for me this last week. If you guys haven't already seen, I had my training posted up, and kind of had like a head cold / allergies thing going on this time last week. So Tuesday training day actually sucked pretty bad, and Wednesday sucked pretty bad, and kind of got over that, and Friday went pretty well. So, but needless to say, I got 2 PRs last week. So even on a bad day, a bad week, if you will, still overcame and did what I needed to do. Just in case you guys are wondering, M&Ms, because at the end of the day, it's not really that big of a deal to have a couple M&Ms in your diet or a whole bag when you have most of your nutrients coming from other sources. All right, what we got? Next big lifting goal. Well, I've got a meet June 2nd in Houston at the George R. Brown Convention Center. It's the American Fitness Expo. It's going to be actually hosted by my home gym, Woodland Strength and Conditioning. It's a USPA Federation meet. The Friday night session is going to be, I believe it's Friday night, is going to be full meet, which I will be competing in that for squat, bench, and deadlift. And the next day, I'm not going to be competing in that. That's bench only and deadlift only. But I think it's about time that I went ahead and put up some numbers for my full total. Right now, training has got me on par to do at least 705 squat, 705 bench, and about 755 deadlift. Got 6 more weeks of solid training to go, and I have never been this strong 6 weeks out from a meet, especially with full meet. So I'm very excited to see kind of what happens. I think those numbers are actually pretty conservative. Bench is obviously, when you're dealing with 3 lifts in training, is one of the ones that can easily kind of lag behind. Keeping the numbers right where they're at from the last meet and just adding a little bit of strength. Peaking in the right sense for the next meet should put me right on par for that American record and all-time record at 308 weight class, 701. That's actually held by Scott Middleton right now. So it'd be an honor to break that and put that alongside the total of 2,100, and actually it's going to be closer to 2,200. But we'll see. My biggest thing is staying the course, making sure that my rest, recovery, nutrition, my diet is basically doesn't change from what it's been in the past. I'm not real strict on my necessarily my diet. I don't eat a bunch of junk food, but I don't eat just clean chicken, clean rice all the time. Sweet potatoes. I'm not a bodybuilder. I do add a few extra calories here and there. Obviously, we're talking about M&Ms, and I had barbecue for lunch. So I had white bread, barbecue, sweet tea is in this. This is like my 3rd sweet tea. So the sugar's there, but it pretty much gets burned right off. But that's the next goal. And if everything goes well with that, I'll go bench only for a little bit longer and try to see what happens with the all-time record. The 738 has been up there for a couple of years. I think it's time to have it back in the American hands. Let's see. Mat separation. I don't know much about that. I'm assuming you're talking about right here. This little. Let's see. What are my tips for older lifters, 50 plus? I actually train a lot of guys that are. I actually have 6 guys that are 50 plus, and 1 is over 60 with my online coaching and/or programming. Which, of course, I'll put a little shameless plug in there if you guys are interested. My website, bencholly.com. I've got all my coaching information and programs. I have a 16-week bench program that's pretty popular. But in terms of people that are, you want to say hi? You're on YouTube Live now.
YouTube Live? What happened with Instagram?
I don't know. My freaking phone died. So I'm charging it, and the tablet doesn't work. Dang. All right.
Can't breathe. Oh, God.
Anyways, so my tips for people that are a little bit older is obviously you have to worry about rest and recovery. You're not going to recover quite as much, statistically speaking, as a younger guy. Injuries that may or may not happen are going to be a little harder to overcome. As far as you going to slip in here?
What do you want me to do?
Miss Swimhack wants to say hi.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Come on over. Just in case you guys are on Instagram, this is Miss Swimhack. You can follow her. Follow her.
The whole screen.
Come on in. You don't have to take up the whole screen. Here,
you do.
Y'all can answer questions for her. Anyway, so well, you got to put your face in.
I know. I can't see the words.
So okay, so I would say older lifters need to worry more about just having more time to and this is statistically speaking, obviously, I know some beasts that don't need to sit there and take extra days off and stuff like that, but definitely want to just know your body a little more and be careful to not get injured because it'll take longer to come back from. But I honestly think you can do the same programming for the most part as a lot of the younger guys. And honestly, if you haven't hurt yourself, I think you're a lot stronger, not only mentally, but physically. I'm 37. I'm not an old guy, but I'm, almost 40. And I see a lot of 40-year-olds walking around the gym acting like they're crippled. They can't move. It's like, what are you talking about? And I guess it comes back to when I played football. I was one of the older guys to do it or to be trying out. And statistically speaking, I was going to get hurt or I was not going to make it. But I also hadn't been banged up for 20 plus years before I tried out. So a lot of the guys that were getting hurt because they had previous injuries. I had none. So, all right. So what we got? Aware of UAE powerlifting. I know they have a team. I'm not real familiar with them. I've been really bad about not following the sport of powerlifting, if you will. I'm interested in it, but when I leave the gym, I try to tune it out for the most part so I can have time for family. But that's not to say that I don't respect it. I don't follow if I can, see things on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But I do watch videos, I know a lot of these guys, they actually not only compete just at the collegiate level, but they actually compete, in the federations that I do. So that's kind of how I hear about things that are going on. That you're planning on joining as soon as you transfer to the university. Also, when I start competing. I officially started competing December of 2014. So not very long ago, about 3 years. 3 years ago. Am I going to use hook grip or over under in competition on deadlift? I am working on my hook grip right now. My thumbs are, I'd say they're pretty weak, considering I had about 585 on it on Friday, and I was working up to my 660 by 2, and I did the 585, and I was just like, this sucks. I gotta warm up to this. But my over under, I am very conscientious about not flexing at all. It's literally just hanging onto the bar and pulling up. So not to say that I'm not prone like other lifters would be to bicep tears and things like that. Something that's constantly going through my head. But because I'm not going to get to the point where I'm lackadaisy about it, I think I'm in a better position to not get that injury because I'm not going to do anything even remotely that's going to cause it. Now, I'm not saying I'm invincible, but I would like to move towards a hook grip so that I can keep going up in weight. What's up, Nicholas? How to deal with lower back pain? Well, here's the thing. I dealt with lower back pain when I first started lifting a lot, and I thought it was injuries, and actually it was pump. And I learned real quick what back pump was, and I started looking for solutions for it. Rubbing it, massaging it, icing it did not help at all. Not me. It actually made it worse. In fact, my squat form took a big hit because my back pain was always so bad. I was over bracing. I was always trying to wear a belt to correct it versus working on like my hamstrings, working on posterior chain, working on GHRs, reverse hypers, and taking taurine as a supplement really helped. And I still take that. But making sure that your back is strong and it's actually working through the pain, not working in pain, is sometimes the better way to go on that. But that's assuming that you have good form. I had bad form and my back always hurt. Miss Strickland, what are your best lifts?
Squat.
So she started really lifting just a few months ago, honestly. And her squat is already over, let's see, where we're at, 180 or something, somewhere in the 180 range. And deadlift is 200 and bench is right at 85 for 2. So we got some gear in, like knee sleeves and elbow sleeves, belt, wrist straps. So we're going to crank those up a little bit because we have the extra support. So let's see. Favorite supplement? I like Animal. Animal is I pretty much go to for everything. I do have a friend that I've been lifting with for a lot of years, Bryce, and he owns a nutritional company where he has the pre-workout and he has BCAAs and a fat burner. It's called Bonafide, and it's basically BONEAFIDE nutrition. So check them out. He's got high quality products. Anything else to say?
No.
No? You want to read the question?
No. What? What?
Best chest builder. Flies. I'd go with flies. I mean, because if you had to pick one, I would say flies. But don't pick just one. I mean, obviously, weighted dips and flies, push-ups, rows. Well, rows is not chest, but all that goes together. How much do I focus on my diet? I don't want to say none because I do obviously. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I eat on a daily basis, and you guys make the choice of if that's conscientious about diet or not. I don't sit there and dwell on diet. I don't count calories. For example, like I showed you already, I'm eating a bag of M&Ms right now, but I don't do that daily. I might grab a little bag of candy twice a week. I'm just not a real big candy eater. I like candy. I'm just not going to sit there and eat it all the time. For example, like today, well, actually, I'll back up. Yesterday, I basically eat a couple of Jimmy Dean sausages with egg and cheese on them. Eat 2 of those. And a protein shake from Animal. Lunch, I typically just wait till lunch and, I don't eat. I eat maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Then I'll eat lunch about 11 to 12, typically before workout. And that either comprises of like chicken and waffles, sweet tea, maybe even a Coke, or a hamburger from any one of fast food places with fries, or Chick-fil-A sandwich with fries and drink. Then I typically hit up my workout and have like a Animal protein bar after, BCAAs during workout, plenty of water throughout the day, just kind of as needed. And then for dinner, like yesterday was a big fajita platter with rice and beans, all the fixings and everything like that in a Mexican restaurant. That's typically a daily meal. Today for lunch, I had wife and I split about 1.25 pounds or so of outside cut moist beef, and I probably had 3/4 of that, 3/4 pound of beef with a few slices of bread, potato salad, big block of cheese. That sounds good. I still got that Gouda, don't I?
Yeah.
And then maybe 3 or 4 refills of 30 or so, 20 ounces or so of sweet tea. And that's typically it. At night, I've got supplements. Obviously, I'll take like my animal pack, my vitamins, my BCA. I'll take BCA, Flex, which has got glucosamine, conjoint and MSM.
What's the one animal one that I like?
Is it a pre-workout?
Mm-hmm.
Fury, Rage, pre-workout. Take a scoop of Rage, scoop of Fury, pre-workout. Yeah. The wife's taking a bathroom break. And let's see what else. I take ZMAs to sleep. That's a nice little addition. There's zinc, magnesium. I do take fish oils, taurine, turmeric.
You need to post a picture because you take a lot of shit.
I'm saying
a lot.
Let's see.
All normal stuff though.
CoQ10. What do you mean normal stuff?
Not illegal crap.
Not illegal crap. I don't take any illegal crap, is what the wife's saying.
I beat you.
So, but yeah, I do have, if you look right behind me, I'll just lift this up right there in that corner. That's just a little bit of the supplements. So, I don't live and die by supplements. I think supplements are supplements for a reason. You eat whole foods, but I'd rather take the extra nutrition in, digest it, and let my body deal with the rest of it. So if I get too much calcium, then I deal with it. If I'm taking too much vitamin C, obviously you just pee it out. Obviously, there's some supplements you don't want to take too much of. It's overload, but you're not going to get that, I don't think, in dangerous amounts by just taking what's recommended and eating right. So let's see. Wide grip on bench press. Have I ever had a wide grip on bench press? Have I always benched close? I have always had a fairly wide grip. When I started out, if you look at some of the old YouTube videos from like 2 years ago or more, my grip was probably, if I had to guess, 24 to 25 inches or more, maybe at the rings. I learned that I am very tricep dominant from swimming. So my upper body is able to handle a lot more weight in a stable form than most. In fact, I've heard through the grapevine that my triceps are probably one of the strongest in the world because of that. And I don't want to dispute that, but I'm not also going to be stupid about crazy stuff and try to push the triceps too hard. But I'll do a lot of weighted dips. I do a lot of close grip bench, obviously, which works triceps. My tricep rope, my close grip push-ups, tricep decline, extensions. So I do work on triceps a lot, but because I am close grip bench, I do have to work on the pecs and making sure that all the stabilizers are good. So I'm working on flies, work on rows and seal rows and back rows, seated rows, inverted rows, body weight, lat pull downs. So I do work a lot of the back as well. And actually, the reason why I close grip, I say for the most part, is because as I'm starting to feel heavier and heavier weight, I would feel my pecs pulling. And it wasn't necessarily a strain, but it was just uncomfortable. So I tend to bring my grip in, and I felt like that allowed me to really protect the shoulders and protect the pecs and use my strength in my triceps. So that's just kind of a way to prevent injury. Plus, it was just more comfortable to do. But there's times when I'll go back wider in the beginning of the training cycle to make sure I'm working on the pecs, make sure everything it's actually even. I do get I get a lot quicker off the chest when I'm wider, but it does slow down as I get higher with the lockout if I'm not closer. Let's see, how many times squats a week recommended? If you're going super heavy, honestly, super heavy, like if you're a 600-pound plus squatter, I would say once a week is plenty because it gives you time to recover. If you're starting out and your squat's like 225, you could probably get away with squatting 3 times a week. But we're talking good form, not BS in your workouts. But I have not really found anybody who's had really, really, really good success with doing an exercise more than twice a week. That's not to say there's not plenty of people out there. You guys might be one of them. But for the masses, I would say if you hit once or twice a week with bench or squat or deadlift, obviously if you did that for all, you have you're limited on your time. You have to work out 6 days a week, and I don't recommend that. I recommend probably 4 days split, 5 days split at the most. You can have at least 2 days rest. Sorry if I'm shaking the table here. Get a little excited. My split is Monday bench, Tuesday I take off, Wednesday I squat, Thursday I do upper accessories, which used to include bench, but it does not anymore because it got a little too heavy to be handling 600 plus twice a week on any of the lifts. So I pretty much do one lift a week, or each lift one time a week. Friday is my heavy deadlifts, and then I take the weekend off, reset, and start back on Monday. Incline increases flat bench. I think it plays a role. I think flat bench increases flat bench. Incline, decline, any kind of accessory work at all is going to help with certain groups that whatever that particular exercise is doing to build up. If you're lacking, that certain area, definitely one of your shoulders, you can do just a slight incline all the way up to a steep incline, or even overhead presses. A lot of people have asked me if overhead press directly translate to a big bench, and it does not. I know a lot of guys who can do some crazy overhead press work. When they go to do flat, their pecs just can't hold up. So it's not it's not apples and apples for any of that stuff. It's just like saying, I can leg press 1,000 pounds, but can't squat 200. That'd be an extreme, but you have that stability on your back. There's obviously some more to doing the major lifts, the main lifts, than just what you can do on an accessory lift. How do I treat elbow tendonitis? That's something that I dealt with a couple training cycles ago, actually about a year ago, going into the 661 meet where I did 661 at 266. My left elbow was having some crazy tendonitis, and I didn't know until the last minute why it was being caused, but it didn't matter because the only way to really get rid of it was to back off completely and just kind of rest up. That wasn't about to happen going into the meet. So what I would do is I would just ice it as much as I needed to make the pain kind of subside. I'd take anti-inflammatories if I needed. Didn't want to overdo it, but just a little bit, if I need to sleep. Light massage, not heavy massage. And I didn't dig into it because that actually made it worse. But if I just lightly massaged, stretched it, maybe heated it up occasionally with the heating pad or hot water, hot shower, hot tub, it made things bearable. I could still press just fine. Obviously, it didn't affect my meat. But anytime I went to go pull or do lateral movement, move things around, even unracking the weights, racking the weights, that hurt. But it wasn't so painful that it was just like earth shattering. It just was very uncomfortable. So I upped my glucosamine, MSM, chondroitin, and that made it better after the meet because I took some time off, and it has not bothered me since. So what I do to kind of keep things down is I wear elbow sleeves pretty much every training day that I am using my elbows. That's mostly 3 times a week, roughly. Sometimes there's movements that I'm doing on a deadlift day that requires me like rows and things like that, bent over rows that I'll wear elbow sleeves on. Not so tight that they actually help the lift because I don't want any assistance on the lift, but I want to keep my joints warm. So maybe get, like I got mine from Slingshot, and they have like a competition size that's normally tight, and they have like a gym or training size, and that's just a little bit looser. That's what I typically get. In fact, my elbow sleeves are 4XL. My size for my arm says that I should wear 3XL. So I even went up a size larger. So I'm constantly trying to pull them back up my arm, which is a nuisance, but I also don't want help on my lifts because when I go to meet day and I take them off, I'm not going to have that crutch. So that's one thing I get asked a lot. So I figured I'd throw that out there, but that helps keep the tendonitis down. Smolov, Texas method. I have a couple of questions up here regarding different training methods. Bulgarian method. I don't have necessarily a bad or a good opinion on any method that's popular. I say that as a blanket approach. I think you should always try, if you can, obviously if you're in the middle of a training cycle, you're peaking, you're working with a coach right now, don't try anything right now. But if you're sitting there, you're at a plateau and you're looking to make some changes in your training, just go ahead and try it. Try it for about 12 weeks, whatever method you want, and see if it works for you. Because what works for me or what does not work for me doesn't always work or not work for somebody else. In my coaching, I actually customize everything to the lifter. So I see what the feedback is, and then I adjust. And if I take something from, one particular training method and mix it with another training method, now it becomes it's kind of a conglomerate of the two. And it might help this one person, but I can't take that exact method that I use for this one person and transfer it to somebody else. They might need a slightly different program. Now, a lot of beginners, a lot of newbies can just kind of get the same program, if you will. A lot of templates that are out there can help you get to some degree of strength. But then when you find your idiosyncrasies and there's some imbalances that you have that somebody else doesn't have, there might be an injury that you have that's preventing you to get past a certain point, things like that. That's where the customization comes in. So I don't think any training method that is just point blank, that's the way you want to train, is going to be 100% right for anybody, or for everybody, I guess I should say. See, I'm reading a question here, Nima. Basically, a pretty intuitive to and so, because it seems like from what you're saying, it's more important what you consume and not necessarily how much, because you mentioned you don't. Basically, I go by the law of averages. I think it's a good way to put it in a lot of everything. If you're in the gym more than you're in front of the couch, then you're going to be better off than somebody who's in front of the couch. If you're eating fast food every day, you're going to be worse off than somebody who is eating clean foods, watching their calories, things like that. But you're also going to be better off than the homeless guy who's not eating anything at all. So in that sense, if you just know, obviously, you don't want to eat junk food all the time, and it may not always be feasible to sit there and eat a clean, farm raised chicken with brown rice every single day, every meal. You may want to just live a little, then go have, I eat out twice a day at a restaurant. So do I know what's going in the food? I don't. But I do know how I respond. I do know that my blood work comes back good. My cholesterol is in great levels. My blood pressure, heart, my training, obviously, my progress is working. So that diet is working for me right now. Now, when I turn 45, 50, that might not. Maybe my cholesterol starts going through the roof, and I got to really start watching what I'm being fed, basically. So pay attention to your own. Don't follow just a general plan, if you will. And I'm kind of lackadaisy on that only because it's worked up to this point. Some things I take for granted. I haven't really drilled down and studied why certain things work for me and don't work for others. Because that can take a long time to figure out. But yeah, I am conscientious about diet, but I don't sit there and wake up and go, oh my God, I can't eat those French fries. I'm just going to eat them because I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not worrying about fat as much. I do have great genetics. I do have a background in swimming and athletics. And so I know how to train and I know how, when I look in the mirror, and a lot of it starts there. If you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you're going to do stuff to change that. You're going to change your diet slightly. You're going to cut out an extra soda here and there. You're going to cut them out all together for a couple weeks till you get the body that you want. And if you can still perform under those same circumstances, then you're going to be better off. I could take the approach of I don't really care what I eat and I just eat whatever I want all the time, and I'd probably be a big fat ass. Sorry if that offends you, but that's the truth of the matter. I could also be the other extreme and watch every little calorie that I eat and be ripped to shreds and still be just as strong as I am right now. And you guys would be wondering, well, I'm not on stage. It's just I'm in the middle of those two extremes. As I'm chewing M&Ms.
Your son's M&Ms too.
Are they his?
Yeah, he got earned. So.
All right. I have a problem with consistency on my bench press when it comes to lowering the bar in the perfect spot. The weight gets heavier. What should I do to correct that problem? Try this. Whatever that weight is, just lighten it up. Obviously, when you get heavy, some of those things go out the window. It's going to be muscle memory at that point. You can't fix form or fix your problems when you have a bunch of weight on the bar. That should be the last thing you're thinking about. It should be automatic. You're not. I never once had 500 pounds or more or 600 pounds over my neck and then going, okay, I need to drop it in the exact spot that I need to drop. I literally am going off memory. In fact, my eyes are closed half the time that I'm lifting. I'm going 100% on feel, and half the time I'm not even thinking. I'm just going on autopilot. And then as I put the bar in the rack, I kind of wake up, and then I watch it on video, and I realize what happened. What happens is I train myself through thousands of reps that are exactly the same or close enough to it that I'm going to drop within a 1% error margin or whatever of that same spot. Now, it happens all the time where I may not hit in that spot, and it happens sometimes. I don't think it's ever happened in a meet, but it happened last week. I had 645 with a slingshot. I typically hit right about here on my chest every single rep. You know, between these two fingers is typically where I hit. One time I hit a little lower, and the bar went down this way. I lost it. Then, like last week, I hit really, really high. And just because I hadn't really handled that much weight under slingshot, because it really matters where you hit. I've never done a bench shirt, but I've heard of the same kind of scenario where the slingshot is basically a rubber band. It's pulling it to your chest. It's helping you out at the bottom. If you hit up here and you go to press, the bar is going to want to go this way over your neck. So I immediately bailed on it. Now, had that been a raw lift, I could have probably, come back down with it. I do that all the time and recover lifts. But as far as training where you need to hit, it starts from the warm up all the way up to your main set. So if you're having trouble hitting, let's say, just for example, let's say you're doing 315. If 225, you're able to hit the same spot every single time, and maybe even have somebody like look at it from the top or just video from the top, so you know where you're hitting and you know what it feels like, and you do that time and time to the end. As you increase the weight to 250, 275, and you start getting closer to that 315 mark, make sure that you're not hitting anywhere else. You're actually hitting on the same spot every single time. You're going to train yourself. You're going to make that habit, and you could literally hit it pretty much 99% of the time. You're going to hit that spot. If you increase the weight too quick and you're not quite, your form is not quite corrected, it's going to amplify it 10 times over. It just will. When my squat form was messed up, I had the strength to squat a lot more than I was. When I throw that extra weight on, it would amplify that my knees shot forward, that I got on my toes, that I wasn't sitting back enough. It would just amplify. It's just been deadlift too. I do straight leg because I was so strong upper body that I instantly straightened my legs. And the higher the weight went, my lats would get involved a little too much. My pecs, I would start getting strains places that I didn't really need to get strains. And it's because my form was off. So without seeing it, I would say, look at your form. Have you ever tore a pec? No, and I really don't want to. I do everything I can to stay safe. I shut it down when I need to. I'm not saying that I'm immune to injury, but I have been very lucky to not have injury. And I think a lot of that goes into, I'm not going to go into the gym if I don't feel like I'm going to be able to take care of that workout. I am not in the gym to max out. I used to, but now I'm in the gym to literally complete the workout for the day and walk out, because that workout is part of a bigger plan. If I can't complete that workout because of a strength issue or because of something that I could have controlled, then I've basically failed that particular day. If it's something out of my control, like how I'm feeling, or sickness, or maybe I couldn't get enough rest for whatever reason that I couldn't control, then obviously those are things that I take to heart. Last week I walked out a little bit early on my squat workout. Felt like I was kind of giving up. I knew I wasn't, but it just felt defeated. Came back and fixed, or I guess not fixed, but I did some of the sets that I couldn't do on squat day. I did on my deadlift day to make them up, if you will. So I still got my reps in. There's a couple things I left on the table, but I believe that I will go back this week a lot stronger because I didn't push it when I probably shouldn't have been pushing it. And that's knowing your body and knowing when to kind of shut things down and when you're punking out, basically. So I don't ever want to be punking out. I want to be pulling out in the safe mode to keep from hurting myself. And that goes for chest, legs, everything. So that's not to say that the guys who have torn something were blatantly doing something stupid. I think catastrophic stuff happens all the time, but I think a lot of it is preventable, and it may not be preventable that particular day. It started weeks or months in advance. You started feeling a little something in your pec, and you kept pushing it. You felt it a little bit more the next week, and you're like, look, I got to hit this number, and you kept pushing it. And then one day it just happened. You got out of the groove, and you really pushed it, and boom, there it goes. I think that's that, other than maybe missing something in a catastrophic way. I don't think it's real tough to figure out how injuries happen, but I don't claim to be an injury specialist either. Let's see. I do competition bench once a week and close grip once. Would I be better off doing competition bench twice a week? It's really up to you. Close grip, if you're able to do wide grip, it's fine. Close grip is working, obviously, specificity on your triceps. You're benching twice a week. I'm not sure what the weight is on either or, but I did very well for a long time benching twice a week. Didn't change the grip up necessarily. I would occasionally to change things up. I would do wide grip and then I'd do close grip set, but I would do Monday and Thursdays would be my bench days. Typically my heavy bench day would be on Monday. My lighter bench day would be on Thursday. And it was just to get some more volume in. But now that I'm working with well over 600 pounds on my heavy day, I don't even want to touch 400 pounds on my light day. I'm too tired, too sore, and with full power going on. The less that I can touch the bar is actually better. As long as I'm getting my work and my reps in, being in the gym for 16 hours a week or more doesn't make you stronger. It's what you're doing while you're in the gym. So if you can get in and get out quickly, staying around and just being in the atmosphere of the gym doesn't make you stronger. The actual reps do it. So the faster you can get in, the faster you can get out without rushing your workouts is, I think, ideal. Do I ever do direct ab work? No. Well, not direct, no. I used to do some crunches here and there. A lot of my core work is done just through the sets. I have been doing some landmines lately, which is basically just setting up with like a pivot point in a corner. And you can kind of check it out on some of my videos. It's basically just core work, some oblique work, just kind of shoulder mobility as well. Favorite food? Sushi. Mexican sushi. One of those, I don't know. What would you call it when only your right leg gets tight when standing in one position for a while? No idea, unless that's a joke. Gets tight. If it's just your right leg, I don't know. Sorry. I've been consistent at bench for about a year. I'm almost 40, hit 475. 600 in the cards for the next 3 years, 4 years. I don't see why not. That's honestly. Let's see. When I officially hit 600, I was at, I was 30. Last year, 30. I was 36 when I officially hit 600, and then 37 when I obviously hit 672. I'm almost 38. I'll be 38 in July, so I'll be 38 a month after a planned attempt at 705. And I think that as long as you are healthy, you're not having any kind of crazy issues going on, I don't see why not. I think powerlifting in general is I don't think it's changing. I mean, it is changing, but I don't think we're seeing just some sort of weird influx of strength. I think just a lot more people are being influenced by it. And you see a lot of people come out of the woodwork that are already pretty strong. I mean, I was one of them. A lot of people ask me, how did you grow to a 600 bench so fast, 700, but where'd you come from? I was a swimmer, so I didn't have any reason to want to powerlift. I was in another sport. I was still around and I wasn't strong. At least I didn't put up the numbers yet. But I had all the ingredients ready to go. I just needed to cook it up. So when I started lifting in the gym, mostly for weight loss, I learned that, I needed to get some muscle on me and to get some size on me to go play football. I learned real quick that I was really good at bench. Didn't really care for squat and deadlift. I did them, but it was kind of I didn't know the form, and I just kind of just went into it as lackadaisy as anything. But bench, I learned that I was really good at. Immediately found that I was stronger than most people, and just learned, okay, well, it's because my upper body strength from swimming. But as far as gaining hundreds of pounds on your bench, a lot of people think that's just outrageous. I don't think so. So I think once you believe it and you realize that, you set a plan out to do it, you can definitely make some things happen. In fact, not 475, but I do have a guy that I'm training with right now, or that I'm coaching, that has a 530 bench, or he had a 530 bench, and he just did 585 at a meet. And he's been working with me for a little bit less than 6 months. So is it possible? Absolutely. But if you need help with that, hit me up. Not just necessarily for coaching. I mean, obviously I have that available if it works out, but if you have questions, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, swimhack@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram, @swimhack. Pretty much I answer every question. And I can take a look at some videos and see what you have, and maybe we can work something out. I can help you out. Let's see. Is it possible to cure a poverty bench to a somewhat decent bench? Best way of going. Okay. Basically, is it possible to improve your poverty bench? Yes. What you need to do is figure out why you have a poverty bench. Either you got form, you don't care to be under the bench bar, it scares you, or you're not doing something right. You're training too much. You're not training enough. You don't have enough weight on the bar. You're not going through the proper hypertrophy phases or strength phases. So really what I would do is either get on a program if you're not following a specific program, not just going to the gym, kind of lifting what you want to lift, but actually following a set protocol and see what happens with that. In fact, a lot of the guys that get on my 16-week bench program will find that now that they've got something steady to work towards, they actually are looking forward to going to the gym, so they get excited about it. They go in the gym, they see numbers improving, they see their rep ranges improving, they get stronger, and then 16 weeks later, they have a bigger max, and they're wondering, why didn't that happen before? And honestly, all it was is that they needed a steady, solid program to follow. They just needed a guideline. So I think most guys just need a guideline. They need something to follow. It's pretty simple. Little shameless plug, I guess, for the 16-week bench program on the website, benchonly.com, is it includes an 8-week hypertrophy phase and a 8-week strength phase. It starts out with reps of about the 8 to 10 range, and it drops down to about the 5 rep range. So it's not built to make you max out. In fact, most of your training should not be maxed out, at least in my opinion. But it includes your bench day. It includes 2 bench days and a shoulder day, all of your accessories, and all the prescribed weights and reps and sets. So it really is a good, solid. I took a lot of time to really program it out. I used the same philosophy, or still use the same philosophy, even working with a coach. But I've used this for years, so it's something that I'm tweaking constantly. It's constantly being updated. I think 100 and some odd guys have already used it, and I've gotten feedback from about half of them, because a lot of them are not completed with the program, and all of them have had great success with it. So. Let's see. Thank you for your response. Overcomplicate things like in the past. Just ate a lot. Nobody knew macro calories. I think so. I think that goes with everything. I mean, obviously, I'm not discounting knowledge. Knowledge is power. Cliche statement there. But if you don't know something, doing something is typically better than doing nothing. So if you just kind of follow your gut, no pun intended on the diet talk, you will be better off than if you just kind of spin your wheels. But asking questions to people like myself that have gone through certain things. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritional expert, but if somebody's willing to at least ask me a question, they might go and ask somebody else a question, or go ask a bodybuilder a question, or a dietitian or a nutritionalist, and they start forming their own opinions about things with knowledge, then they're better off equipped to make good decisions in their own life. So I think it's just, I'm not an expert on one particular field with diet or anything like that, obviously, but I think most people do overcomplicate things. They start thinking, I have to count every single freaking calorie that I eat. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I have to eat this macros. I think it just becomes too complicated. I think you put it the proper way. And I don't like to complicate things. It makes life difficult. Obviously being serious about your goals and what you're trying to achieve is definitely something you need to look into. You want to have the knowledge and the information to make good decisions, but at some point you have to make a decision. You can't sit there and keep going, figuring out all these perfect ways to do things and never doing anything, because now you're the person with the information but not doing anything with it. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Hi, sir. I want to ask you a serious question. Is it strange that my girlfriend acts enthusiastic, bubbly, and immature? Is it strange? Probably not. There's a lot of people in this world that act that way, and I would say that's a good thing, because most people, or some people, can be exact opposite. So I would be probably blessed that you have a girlfriend that acts like that. How much carryover do you think bent over rows have to deadlifting? I don't know how much carryover. I know that, well, and I do bent over rows, not for deadlifting necessarily. I do them as a row for my bench. It's just another version of it. But I do find that the heavier you can typically bent over row, the heavier typically, to some degree, you're going to be able to deadlift, because you obviously are using your legs. But that's like any other accessory. It's a different lift. Why do you think bigger class lifters don't use sumo deadlift as often as smaller lifters? It's a good question. Honestly, I have no idea. I have tried sumo, and I think if I really tried, harder, made it a point, I could deadlift. I think most I've ever sumoed is at 585. Of course, I wasn't training much over 6 anyways. I was holding my deadlifts back. So I would do 585 sumo, and then I'd do a conventional and call it a day. Just to make sure that I was working. It just works a different muscle group for me. I find that my leverages are honestly better for conventional. But I am not opposed to trying new things and moving forward. Just trying to think of any major lifter that's huge, like a big lift guys that sumo, and I can't. That's a good point. Who knows? I'm still in high school and I compete in wrestling and football. I tend to focus pretty heavily on deadlifts. In your opinion, is that smart, or should I focus more on other lifts too? I would make it well-rounded. For football, I would really focus on squats, depending on what you're doing, obviously. But I think, I wouldn't necessarily say, because football is not, and football and wrestling are not going to be heavy strength sports. Now, it's not to say you don't need strength, but when I played football, the stronger I was, the more I would be double teamed, which served its purpose, but I couldn't necessarily play the game better. I would serve my position better. If I was playing D tackle and I had 2 offensive linemen on me, being able to bench press 500 pounds definitely helped me to hold 2 guys back. But to shake them off was not a strength thing. It was a speed thing, technique. So I would say your primary focus on wrestling and football should be speed and technique before anything else. Your strength focus should be a supplemental So I would definitely work the big three, work on overhead presses, work on, big four, I guess, squats, deadlifts, and overhead press. Keep that in all your accessories, of course. Close grip, that's a max effort movement. No, I think that would be a bad idea. I do it because that's how I do all my bench, but close grip, that would be like saying, because close grip is typically an accessory exercise. That'd be like saying go max effort on bicep curls or max effort on seal rows or lat pull downs. Max effort, like for a max, is never a good thing. Going for heavy 100% effort is a whole different thing. That's not max effort. Or at least I'm not going to put those in the same boat. Let's see. How did I get so freaking strong? Triceps. Swimming. 15 years of swimming competitively at national levels. Thousands and thousands and thousands of strokes in the pool per day. If you think about each stroke being a tricep pull down and multiply that by about 5,000, even at body weight, that's huge. Half body weight, let's say 90 pounds, which was 180 divided by 2. I was basically doing 5,000 reps of 90-pound tricep pull downs every day for 15 years. That's how triceps got formed. So there's your answer. Foam rolling recommended. Absolutely. I foam roll. In fact, I don't necessarily foam roll because it's not hard enough. I use a custom-made PVC pipe that I buy. It's a 4-inch PVC pipe. And I roll out my legs before bench day. I roll out my legs before squat and deadlift day. I roll out my back, roll out my sides, my IT bands, and all that kind of stuff. So I roll out pretty much everything that hurts. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Biggest regrets in life? I don't really have a lot. Honestly, I would say, as long as it didn't change anything to now, I would say I would have tried out for pro football when I was a lot younger, because I feel like the main reason I didn't make it, this is not one of those sob stories. I think I had a damn good shot at the NFL. I think when they looked at all my stats, they were very impressed. They were ready to sign me, and they just looked at my age and they went, dude, you're 30 years old. There's no way you're going to make it in the NFL. And it's a business. I get it. I own a business, have 3 kids. I understand life. I'm not going to be, sore loser about that. I took my strength and realized, what am I going to do with this? And then I started powerlifting, and here I am. So each thing leads to something else. It's not always a bad thing. But I think if I had to say what regret was, I would have probably somehow wanted to try out for football earlier on. Gym-wise, not really. I think it would have been interesting had I started powerlifting earlier, maybe at a younger age. I don't know how much of a difference it would have made, good or bad. But like I said, I don't really have a lot of regrets, or like some of the tattoos say, a lot of regrets. But, who knows? I think that supplement companies always wants to overcomplicate in order to sell us more stuff. What do you think, James? Absolutely. I think supplement companies, for the most part, want to sell you supplements. It's just like any business. Any business in the world is out to make money. Now, the secondary concern is their customer, typically. Now, I'm not saying all businesses, but I'll tell you right now, I run a web design company, and I'll be point blank. I run the web design company not for the businesses that I serve. I run the web design company so I can pay my bills and feed my family. So my family comes first, not the customer. And I'll tell the customer they come first, but at the end of the day, it's my family that comes first. So if I'm the owner of a big conglomerate, obviously you have big corporations that are run by a lot of different people. It's a different setup, but you have small businesses. The customers are there, and they're the reason why you make money. You have to appreciate that. There's a fine line between saying the customer, is that you need the customer to pay your bills. If you don't tell the customer what they want to hear, they're not going to buy what you want. There's also a fine line about lying, or just telling them one thing, or telling them that your product is superior to another product when it really isn't. And I think a lot of companies these days are caught up in that, and there's no moral line. And that's a whole different subject. But I think, yeah, a lot of supplement companies will just blow smoke up your butt and tell you that you have to take this, when honestly, I went 6 months without taking a single supplement, not a protein shake, not a vitamin, not anything. Now, did I need the supplement company? Absolutely not. Did I perform better when I took the supplements? I think so, but it's hard to tell, because when you don't have the supplements, I think if you know your diet enough, okay, I'm not getting enough protein, I'm going to eat more protein. I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to eat more fruits. I'm going to get the liquids that I need. I'm going to get the nutrients that I need. But a lot of the junk food out there, if you're eating on the go and you eat McDonald's before your workout, you're not getting what you think you're getting. You're not getting the protein, the carbs, the fats, the good fats that you need to function. So you need supplements to supplement that. But if you're eating super clean, I think you can get by with not eating or not taking supplements pretty much at all, as long as you know exactly what's in your food. If you don't know what's in your food, and if you're eating out, you're eating at restaurants, I don't care what they say. I don't care what they put on their menu. I don't care what they put out there on these info websites about what's in their food. You don't know because you didn't put it in the food. So you really don't know. But and honestly, I guess if you're buying from a crappy supplement company, you don't know what's in the supplements either. But you know how you feel. And if you know your body enough to know how you respond to certain calorie intakes or certain fat intakes, and if you ate enough carbs the night before, and you performed poorly because you didn't eat enough carbs, the next time you're going to eat enough carbs. So I think if you overall, without making things too complicated, if you know what you need, you don't need the extra supplements. That's why they're called supplements. And I'm honest with myself, I know that I may not. There's been times, let's see, we had Italian food one night, like a week and a half ago. And I knew that I had pasta, but it didn't have a lot of meat from the restaurant. It didn't have a lot of actual meat or meat sauce in it. So I got a lot of carbs that night, but when I went to bed, I knew I didn't get enough protein. So I went ahead and took a 2-scoop protein shake to get an extra 40 or so grams of protein in me. That was my supplementing what I was eating. So I think if people take that approach to things, you realize, okay, it's a supplement. It's just like with anything, you add it to what you're already doing. If you don't need it, you don't take it. There's been a lot of nights that I don't take a protein shake because I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't want extra calories in me. I don't really care to have that full filling. So things like that. Also, another thing, do you need a pre-workout? No. I have worked on nothing and had PRs, and I've worked on caffeine, just coffee, and had PRs. But I actually like how I feel when I take animal supplements. That's why I take them. Is it a placebo effect? It could be, but I know that it's not hurting me, so I'm willing to do it, to take it, and to get those results. But there's been days when I reach in there, I'm like, oh crap, I don't have a scoop of my pre-workout. And my first thought is, oh, today's gonna be a bad day. I don't have my regimen together. I didn't take my pre-workout. I feel bad. And I go and I freaking rip a PR, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm good. Doesn't mean the next day that I go in the gym, I'm not still looking for the pre-workout. I still want what works for me. So I think your body is a lot stronger, and it will work under circumstances that you don't think it will, but it's not necessary for a lot of these companies to be putting out the information that they do. So let's see. Am I going to get my kids into powerlifting? I'm not going to get my kids into anything that they really don't show an interest in. I mean, for a long time, it was, we're going to get them into swimming, football, gymnastics, dancing. Honestly, it's like whatever they want to do, I'm going to let them kind of do. I'm not going to push anything on them. I see a lot of parents push junk on kids, and I grew up with, other swimmers whose parents made them swim, and they hated swimming. They were really good at it, but they were depressed because they just didn't like the sport. The parents kept pushing on them. They kept they'd show up to every practice. You could just tell the obsessed parents. I see it at soccer games. My kids play soccer when they're younger. You see these parents that are just, their kids have to win. And it's like, I don't give a crap who you are. If anybody in this life is about winning and success, it's me. And even I don't press my kids that much to win all the time. Sometimes losing freaking teaches you a lot more. In fact, I think it teaches you a lot more than winning. When you win, you appreciate what all you went through for the losses. So without getting on too much of a rant there, I have not planned on getting into powerlifting. They may choose to. I know they're still young enough. I've got 12, 8, and 3. My 12-year-old will say, yeah, I want to be a bench presser. But, we'll see what happens. Able to drop the weight so quick while benching, you're saving the strength for press or technique. Oh, like on the eccentric. Basically, I have learned to do that, and it's actually something that's just kind of a trial and error. I see a lot of guys that are able. Kirill, he does not drop the weight fast at all. Hornstra does, and I saw him do that for a while, and I tried to mimic it, and I couldn't quite get it. And then one day I had like 650 or something. It was going for a PR in the gym, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try this out, and just drop it down and catch it right before it hits my chest so I can pause it. And it worked out really well. I was able to get a better stretch reflex, stayed under the bar for a lot less time, and was able to press it out. But you have to be conscientious about where it lands, because I did that last week with 680 slingshot, and I didn't hit at the right spot. You cannot recover from that. You can't, at least when you're coming down slow, you can kind of adjust and make sure that you're hitting the right spot. But I think you're also using a little bit more energy that way. But to each their own. You need way more subscribers. You're awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Anthony. I'm not going to complain. I think January of this year, I had right at 300 or so subscribers. I think we just went past 4,100 last week. So I'm not going to complain. I'll just keep putting out my information. If you guys want to watch it, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. You all are more than welcome to give me any recommendations if you want to see certain things. I pretty much now have a video camera in training sessions. So I'm training, I'm filming all my training sessions so you guys can follow along, just to kind of experience what I experience for the most part and just kind of see what I'm doing. I do put a disclaimer out there that what I'm doing doesn't necessarily mean if you did the same thing, even at a lower weight, that you're going to have the same progress or same this. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it that is not training related. But if anybody can get anything out of any of this training or my journey to 2,100, my journey to 700, then I'm going to put it out there. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Ever compete in geared lifting? I have not. I'm interested in it, obviously, but I think my interest is mostly because I see some of the guys that are capable of doing, the world records for geared bench pressing, and then I see their raw numbers, which they're still impressive. But if I'm above their raw numbers, it doesn't equal the geared lift. But naturally, I think, well, if I train that, I could probably do that. And I am very good at slingshot and overloads and getting, triceps is a huge, if you can hold the weight typically in geared lifting, I've seen a lot of successes with being able to, the shirt does a lot of the work at the bottom. And I'm not going to get into a pissing match here about what happens with the lift. If you're able to stay in the groove and you're able to work the shirt helps you. It just does. That's not taking any, anything away from the guys that move the weight. You still got to move the weight. But being able to do that, I think if I trained it, I think I'd do pretty well at it. But as far as having a plan to compete in it, no, not at this time. Maybe never. It'd be interesting to do, but I'm also a realist. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to stay in the sport for years to come, but life has a way of throwing things at you that may or may not be what your plan is. So I'm just kind of along for the ride, see what happens. Have fun with things and just live. I don't want to be tied to the sport necessarily. I wouldn't say that powerlifting is a passion of mine. It's definitely a hobby that's turned out to be a very good success. That's not to take anything away from, obviously I put a lot of my training, my time, my effort into it, but I don't think that I would do it if I wasn't good at it. I just wouldn't enjoy it as much. So I respect the guys who are at any level that are willing to just commit to something and keep going at it. So I follow the sport, and I am impressed with when I see guys lifting certain things at certain ages and certain weights and geared, ungeared. I could care less about technique. And, I try not to get caught up in all the drama about how people lift and what they do. Because at the end of the day, if they're just like me and they're doing something similar to me, I wouldn't want somebody criticizing how I do certain things. So we can poke fun at people and just make fun here and there. It doesn't have to be vicious. There's nothing wrong with poking fun a little bit here and there with somebody, but I think if you're critiquing somebody's lift, you need to have a little bit of knowledge before you do so. Angelo, damn, show us your muscles. Check out my last YouTube video, week 6. I'm shirtless doing my deadlift. There you go. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize I was going to get this many questions. I appreciate that.
I'll buy you some more Dorian.
What do you got here?
I eat yogurt.
How important do I think putting on weight is to increasing raw bench press? You have to be close to 300 pounds to even consider pressing 600. I've heard a lot of great people say the best way to increase bench press is to gain weight. I went myself, and I went from 266 pressing 661, went up to 290 and pressed 672, pretty darn close to getting 700. I think on a perfect day where I could have chosen attempts that aren't limited to 3 attempts, I think I could have probably gotten a successful 690 or so at 290 body weight. So statistically speaking, for that one particular attempt and 21 weeks of training, ideally I think gaining 30 pounds or 20-ish pounds of weight did help me put up a bigger number. I don't know, I'm sure that I'm just kind of this kind of person. I'm sure I could lose 10 or 15 pounds and still put up the same number. But I think doing it first at a heavier weight and then dropping down helps with the confidence too, knowing that you can handle that kind of weight. But I believe mass moves mass, but I don't think it's necessarily mass. It's more of muscle size, strength moves weight, not just sheer mass. There's certain lifts, bench press, I don't think is one of them necessarily, unless your range of motion is like 3 inches because you just have a huge chest. But squat, your mass can definitely move weight a lot more efficiently, obviously for deadlift, and definitely more than bench. What's the most I've ever overhead pressed? Strict overhead press, I really don't do much as far as like strict, like straight up. Typically have a slight incline. What's up? I don't do a lot of standing overhead presses either because I'm trying to save the lower back. It's typically on a day right before deadlifts. So my overhead presses are typically at about a 80 degree incline seated. Most I've done is 425 for a set of, I think it was set of 3, set of 5 for 425 on that. So it's not a strict behind the neck or anything like that overhead press. It's more of a seated overhead press. So 425 for, I think there's, let's say 3 just to be safe. Want to say hi? Come on over. My 3-year-old wants to say hi to you guys. Come over. You got to get up higher. Say hi.
Hi.
What's your name? What do you got in your mouth? Candy? He's got candy in his mouth, so he's not being able to say his name. Connor. Say hi.
Hi.
And bye.
Bye.
All right. And my oldest, come on over. Say hello to YouTube.
Hello to YouTube.
What's your YouTube channel? Dude, what's your YouTube channel?
Uh-uh.
Come on, Skylander Matt, right? Go follow Skylander Matt. All right. Skylander Matt. Bruised hands from hook grip. Pretty bad bruises when you're deadlifting when using straps. No, I haven't, but I mean, typically bruises are caused by broken blood vessels, so you might just have blood vessels that are a little bit more prone to bruising in your hands. I don't know how to fix that. I've never really heard of that, so sorry. Mark Davenport, I'm 56. Thoughts on continuing to increase? 1,000. Let's see. I'm finding over the last 2 years, lifting for max is becoming harder to recover from. Coming back to kind of the conversation we had earlier about another question about lifting over 50, your recovery is going to be probably a little bit less than the younger guys. I know, I'm 38 now, or almost 38, and I do not huge, but I do feel, because I haven't been in the strength game for that long, but I know that the way that my cardio used to go, the sports that I played throughout the years, I definitely take longer to recover from. But that's not to say that if you do your training right, your splits right, that you can't recover from a lift. Now, you may not be able to go do heavy bench and the next day do heavy squat. You might need to take a day or two or even 3 or more to rest. But that doesn't mean you can't adjust your training split to what your recovery period needs to be. So just because somebody else can go to the gym that's 40 years old or 30 years old or 50 years old 3 times a week and do super heavy lifts, or 7 times a week super heavy lifts, doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. You tweak your schedule to what works for you. And so you may need to do like heavy bench, first on a Sunday, and then take 2 days off, literally not going to the gym, and then hit your next day on like a Wednesday, Tuesday, and do your lift, and then take 2 more days off, and then rest, obviously, those days, and then come in and do your deadlifts. Then you may need to take 2 more days off, and that puts you a little bit behind on your split from the last week, but that's okay. You just keep going that same route. That might work for you. I think a lot of cats will get caught up in, I have to fit my whole training schedule into a week and then repeat it every single week. If that doesn't work for you, then don't let it work for you. I've been able to make it work for me, but I am not opposed to changing that up, where if things get so heavy or so hard to recover from on my work schedule or whatever happens, then you make it work for you. You don't have to, you can literally make it linear versus like a cycle. You basically say, okay, I'm going to do this lift or this workout, and then I'm going to rest X number of days before I do this workout. And then after this workout, I'm going to rest X number of days, or I'm going to play it by ear. However this day felt, I'm going to take that many number of days. And you do what gives you progress. Progress is the only thing that matters over any amount of time, any amount of training schedule, any program that you do. Now, I'm just assuming kind of law of averages, what you're doing, what you're thinking about, what your diets, all this stuff matters, but just kind of tidbits for you to think about. But yeah, I think, realistically, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to keep continuing on progress. It's just, you're almost 60. Yes, that's just a number. As long as you're injury free and you continue to stay injury free and you can get your rest and recovery, your body's going to do what you want it to do. Now, that's using kind of a matter of fact approach, but I think if you can at least attack it from that angle, you'll have a better success rate than if you just go in and say, well, I'm weak and feeble, I can't really make this happen, it's my life is just getting in the way. You've pretty much already defeated yourself. And also, make sure you're following a good program. What do you think of the 2 bench days a week with 1 top set of 2 back offs, then no accessories? If I'm reading it correctly, I will always do accessories on whatever day I'm doing. Accessory work literally is what makes me progress. The specificity of the lift itself is crucial, but once I get rid of my bench sets, I'm literally working on triceps, working on back. I'm working on other things that help the actual bench itself. Those I use to break down the muscle even further. Those are what I'm sore from. So I would always have your accessories on the day that you're working out, because then what are you going to do? You're going to go and work in the top set and then leave. That's kind of a wasted time at the gym, if I'm reading that question right. Please provide a good example of leg day routine to build strength. Honestly, without going into too much detail, check out some of my last couple of videos. I've got 6 of them, I think, posted up now. Just check out the day 2 and day 3 on the last 6 videos or so. That's, a decent, I guess I say decent, obviously it's working for me, but, check it out and I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. You'll see what I'm doing. You'll see how I'm doing it. Try that out and then see if that works for you. If not, hit me up, and message, you can email me, swimhack@gmail.com. Tell me what you're kind of doing. Maybe we can work something out programming wise. At what point did you perhaps realize that you'd be one of the best bench pressers in history? Did your strengths surprise you, or did you always know you'd become strong way above average? I had no idea that I was going to be. In fact, I didn't even know what powerlifting was. I knew what powerlifting was, but I always thought it was a bunch of fat guys running around that were just strong because they needed something blue collar to kind of go against the grain to do. I didn't understand powerlifting could be a lot of different weight classes and different world records and federations and all that stuff. So when I was in the gym doing a 605 bench press, I knew I was a little bit more elite than most. I didn't know where I was at in the world terms. I figured I was way behind everybody because I knew just from when I was already benching 500, I was like, kind of getting on YouTube and searching videos. I was like, oh, this guy does 500 and he's pretty big. And, oh, this guy does 500 for 5. And I saw a few videos. I saw Spoto doing his videos. And I was like, okay, well, obviously 722 is the world record. That's a long way off. I'm not even thinking about that. That's hundreds of pounds above me. So I knew that was kind of where they were at. I figured, like with anything, there was probably 8 or 9, 10 guys currently in the world doing 700 plus, and just one of them happened to have the record. I didn't know what the records or rankings and stuff like that were. So when I did 600, I was like, okay, well, that's just 600, big deal. It's heavily spotted, obviously you check it out. If you search 605 bench press, James Strickland, you'll see it's back in 2012. It was actually on Christmas Eve. And, I had a real clean 575 about 2 weeks before that. I went for 605 because I wanted to hit 600. Is an ego lift. And, I got it. It was heavily spotted. It was definitely not competition. In fact, none of my lifts were competition worthy at that time. No pauses, no, anything like that. And I didn't know until I was actually, somebody had said, well, that wouldn't even be a lift or a good lift in a powerlifting meet. And I said, well, okay, I don't care. What does that mean? That's like me running a 40 and somebody going, oh, that'll never pass in the NFL. It's like, okay, I'm not even trying out for the NFL. I don't care. It wasn't a cocky thing. It was just like, okay, why are you commenting this stuff? You get that comments all the time. It's no big deal. But the team that I was kind of training with at the time, as far as like lifting, just kind of a group of friends out here where I live, they tried out for football. A couple of them were trying out for football, and I started doing it as well. This was a couple years prior. So they all said, hey, we're going to actually start powerlifting. And I thought, okay, that's kind of cool, whatever. And I had left the gym probably from February to June or so of that year of 2014. I didn't even go to the gym because I was trying to lose muscle mass because I didn't have any reason to be big anymore. I wasn't playing football. I had done a 600 bench. Who cares what's next? It's not like I'm going to go to 650 or whatever. I just didn't have any drive to do that. So I went back to swimming and lost a bunch of weight. I went about 236, did a couple of master swim meets. Was still pretty decent at swimming. And they posted up on Facebook and they said, hey, we're going to start doing powerlifting and there's a meet in October. You want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And then of course I got called out because a lot of them were like, we haven't even seen you 6 months. So what are you going to do? Yeah, I used to be a 500 plus bencher, but what are you going to do now? You're probably little and frail. So I started getting back in the gym, started working out with them and gaining a bunch of weight. I think I got up to about 250 or 260. Did my first powerlifting meet. And actually it was rescheduled from October to December. And I ended up doing my first powerlifting meet December of 2014 and got a 474 opener. That's all I got. Didn't know how to choose attempts. In fact, the opener was pretty light. Went straight to 530 as a second attempt, 520, and bombed out after that. Oh, I obviously got my 474. Well, 6 months later, I got 550, and then I got 556, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to get a 600 in a meet because I want to prove that to myself that I can actually get one in an actual powerlifting meet. And it took me a better part of a year and a half to finally get to 6. And when I finally did, somebody said, dude, you realize that you are one of like 50 people on the planet who have ever bench pressed that much weight. And just hearing that and seeing it on a list and seeing some of the top names that I had recognized from YouTube and just seeing things going on in the world, something hit me at that moment. That was probably 2016. And I went, this is something special. This is actually something really cool that I don't want to say I didn't try, but it's something I'm really naturally good at. And if I actually put 100% effort into this, what could happen? So I really started focusing on all the little things. What can I do to change this, make this better? Technique, getting a coach, this, that, finding a good gym. I wasn't just lackadaisy going through stuff. And that's when everything turned. And that's when you'll see a clear distinction with my lifts go from 600 to 633 to 661 to 672. Here we are now. So I didn't even know. It kind of hit me, and it still is hard to realize, and I don't take it lightly. To be top 4 of all time in my weight class and top 10 of all time ever is not a light thing. It's not something I take lightly. But to think about it that way still, and this is the scary part and exciting part, is I still haven't put my foot all the way down on the gas. There's still so many more things that I can do. And a lot of people will think, we're getting older and this, that, but it doesn't matter. As long as I can stay injury free and keep progressing the way I have been, and there's no reason I shouldn't. It's going to be kind of crazy the next few years. So that's what's exciting with me. And here's the end of the day. If something catastrophic happens, or something happens in life, or I don't get, I get injured or something, I'm still top 10 of all time. So I can sleep at night and know that I've contributed to the sport, that, I've done something really cool, and a lot of people are inspired by it. And I can continue to inspire people even if I don't get any better. So it's a win-win. So that's, kind of where I'm at with things. And I knew about a year and a half ago that something was really popping. And every day that I wake up, I realize just how special this gift is that I have. And that's why I do what I do. Pretty much make it a full-time job to work out, to promote, to get better, to make things happen. Just because I don't want this opportunity to pass me by. I don't want to be looking back 10 years from now and go, man, what if I would have done this? I'd rather just do it now, get it out of the way, and ride this wave as long as it'll take me, and see where it goes. Preferred pre-workout, Animal Rage and Animal Fury, a scoop of each. Really inspiring to hear from you. Almost been 700 about your thoughts on food. Many years I felt like stuck on macro calorie. Maybe I should. No problem. I appreciate it. Have you thought about benching the world record? Absolutely. Yep. First things first, let's go ahead and crack that 700 barrier, and we'll talk about going for that all time. My friend Julius Maddox, though, I think he'll be the first one to crack it. He's already up there, damn near 720 pounds at the last meet. He could have easily gotten 716 and had that American record, or more than 716, had that American record. If I had to create a strength competition with 3 new lifts, what would it be? Come on now. I have no idea. I would say getting off the couch, opening up the refrigerator, and sitting on the toilet.
What? What are you doing?
Had to create a strength competition with 3 new lifts, what would it be? I said getting off the couch, opening up the refrigerator faster, and sitting on the toilet.
Yeah, I'm over here.
Oh, I'm skipping around. Sorry. Let's see. Good exercises that build lower back. Hyper extensions, hypers, reverse hypers. Those are good. Last week, max out on bench. This week, tried 335 with elbow wraps and wrist wraps. Failed, but also have a feeling. Well, here's one little tidbit about maxing out. Maxing out, going from 315 to 335. If 315 was your max, then you had no business being under 335. I'm just going to tell you straight up. That would be like me going, let's just double it. Let's just say, my max was 630, and then I'm going for 670, within the next month even. Not a good idea. Focus less on your 1 reps and focus more on getting reps of 5 to 8 and increasing that over time. So, let's say you do 275 for a set of 8 this week, go for 275 for a set of maybe 9 the next week, or go 275 for a set of 8 this week and then do 280 for a set of 8 next week. As long as you're not failing on them, keep going up like that. And that's just standard progressive overload. that strategy has helped me build more on all my totals than anything else. Not focusing on 700 pounds as a bench press, but maybe once or twice a year. In fact, it's not even focusing on 700 pounds at all. It's focusing on what can I get this training cycle that makes it's easier this training cycle than it was the last training cycle. When I say training cycle, I'm talking about the last 12 to 18 months of training. If I, was going into a meet, like tomorrow I have 610 for 2. I want to make that 610 for 2 faster and more efficient than the last training cycle when I did 610 for 2. When I get to 630 for 2, I want it to be faster and more efficient than the last training cycle, which means I've made progress. When it comes time for the meet, I'm going to open up a little heavier. I'm going to go for 680 or so on a second attempt and go straight to 700 on a third. So at least I have a PR to fall back on, and I make progress as I go. Best exercise for tricep strength, if not close grip bench, do weighted dips or lockouts. Products, just take it slow, you'll get there. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what your training looks like. It sounds like, I'm just guessing. I have no idea, but it sounds like you may just need a steady set guidelines to follow, a program to follow, versus going in, because I used to do this and I know how it is. If you bench 500 one week, the next week I want to bench 505. The next week I want to bench 510. Your body just doesn't respond that way. And it will for a little bit, and it might even do it for a while, but you're going to find a plateau. Your body's going to go, no more. Well, what do you do at that point? You don't get frustrated. You just back off the weight. You put more reps in your scheme. You do accessory work, and you do that for the next 6 months. Then when you try for a 1 rep max again, after you've kind of pyramided up, so you start with sets of 8, sets of 6, sets of 4, 3, 2, 1. By the time you're at the sets of 1, you're about 6 months later. You're ready for 335. You're ready for 350 or whatever. So just kind of look at training that way versus hitting it hard every single time and going for a 1 rep max. Touch and go bench feels stronger than wide grip, but with a pause, has no power off the chest. Any thoughts? Well, you need to utilize your stretch reflex a little better. Pausing, actually, I'm better at now because I can utilize firing off the chest. I used to be better at touch and go because it was using the momentum, but you have to slowly move into that. You want to slide in?
No, you got 5 minutes. No more reading.
Oh, I got 5 minutes because guess what time it is? What time?
Dinner time.
Dinner time, because these M&Ms got old and I don't want any more. Still got a bunch left in here. I don't really, no. You want to say hi? Come on. And the last but not least, the daughter, Kayla. Look at her funny, and I will track you down. This is the one person you don't want to mess with. I'm just saying. All right, got here. We got a few more questions. What do we got? No. Touch and go. Okay, got that one. How tall am I? 6'1". Hey, 3-year-old. Oh, am I not? I'm way behind on the questions. Somebody said hi. Why are squats and deadlifts recommended so often? Because they work. They actually help my bench. It's hard to tell because I'm inducing fatigue and I'm getting the extra reps in, but squat and deadlift help your overall body strength. They help boost your testosterone, and they help overall your legs. Your leg strength needs to be there. Future bench record holders right there. Yes. What I recommend for a starter working on lifting heavy. I'm assuming starter program, maybe work on reps, work on sets of 5 to 8, do kind of a hypertrophy phase, break down the muscle, and then start working on strength. How far behind am I? Oh, I'm not too far behind. Okay. 2 days, work on flexibility. Yep. Flexibility is always key, keeps you from being injured. It helps stretch you out. It feels good to be able to stretch a little bit. Don't stretch before you lift, though. I've found that not to be really nice at all. Anyone else having trouble finding his son's YouTube channel. Hey, Matt. I'll find it for you guys. Hold on. Do I ever do touch and go? Do I always pause reps? I always do pause reps for the most part. I recommend maxing out on bench at competitions only if you compete. If you do not compete, maybe no more than 3 times a year. I think it's a good, rough example. Let's see what we got here. Subscriptions. Looking for subscriptions here. Hold on. Where's Matt?
I don't know. No.
Skylander Matt is.
Spell it.
Will that show up?
Is it reversed then?
Hopefully not reversed. It probably is, though. Skylander, SkylanderMatt. Skylander Matt.
Can I introduce the favorites?
No.
No, not yet. Maybe next time. Let's see. Oh, I got what you're saying. Product TV. No, don't worry about the wraps. Use wraps, your wrist wraps and your elbow sleeves as precautionary, not assistance gear. Don't think you're going to get an extra 20 pounds out of them. That's a good way to get hurt, honestly. Now, slingshot, a whole different thing because that's overload. But use your wrist wraps. Make sure you get them tight so your wrists aren't, you don't want to be able to bend your wrist under the weight. And use elbow sleeves as a way to keep your elbows safe, not to help you lift the weight. If you think about it like that, because I could strap up, knee sleeves on my elbows and probably put up 800 pounds. That doesn't help my strength any. There's ways to work on my overload that are a lot safer, a lot better. Let's see. Going after state record in 220 weight class for the next year, which is 523. How often do you train single pause reps and commands? I train singles the last 3 to 4 weeks, typically before meet. That's because I'm competing, and it sounds like obviously you're competing as well. So my pause rep with commands is typically the last month. Sometimes I don't necessarily even train with the commands because I don't have problems with the commands. I pause for extra long time because I want to show complete control of the weight. And my start command, I typically hold the weight anyways to get used to it. But I do, not to say I don't train with commands, but I don't quite as much as most people would think. Just want to say hi, keep it up. Thanks, scumbag. That's your username. I'm not saying he's a scumbag. At what intensity percentage do you recommend to build your volume? Think above state. Okay, let's put it this way. Everybody's a little different, but I typically start guys off in my own training program with coaching at about 75% for reps, and we build slowly over time, increasing as the feedback comes in. So nobody is the same. So some guys can grow to 80% within the next week. Some guys need to go 76%, 78%. Maybe we even back it off a little bit, deload. Everybody's a little different, but I've had great success with starting around the 70-ish% for reps of like 8 to 10. What do you think, Shmonov? Like I said earlier in program or about programs, try it. I don't have any direct data on somebody who's done it repeatedly. I have a lot of guys that I've talked to that have had good success with it, and I've had a lot of guys that say it's too much. So I think, honestly, try it yourself and see what happens. Sorry, my last question. Do you think? Oh, it's no big deal. You can ask questions. Do you think I should avoid squats because I have bad flat feet? Okay, when you say bad flat feet, are you talking about feet like this? Hey, don't laugh.
You're
'Cause
just super flat.
I don't have an arch
At all.
at all. No arch. And I have a size 16 foot, and I squat just fine. I do find that my feet pronate, so they actually come in. So I tend to go a little wider on my squats, and I tend to focus on pushing out to the outer edges, I guess, of my feet. the opposite of a pronation. But I don't have any problems with my feet. I know when I run, I hate running in the military, had shin splints, stress fractures, everything else, just because I run very heavy footed, even when I'm not 300 pounds, even when I was 180 pounds. So I don't think you're going to have a problem with squats. So don't avoid them. Just find out how to work around them. I do wear heeled shoes, which help quite a bit. If I squat flat footed, like barefoot, it feels comfortable. It feels nice and relaxing, but it's not about that anymore. It's about competing. So I will wear my heeled shoes, which are Adidas 2.0, and I do just fine. Haven't had any problems whatsoever with my feet. Hey, man, shout out to Yaroslava. All right. She's a bodybuilder. Oh, shout out. Go eat, James. Thanks, Josh. Have a friend who loves to max out every couple weeks. Do I cut him out of my life and never talk to him again? No, don't cut him out. Just friendly reminder that it's probably not the best thing for him to do. And you can tell him that one of the best benchers in the world, which is one of the many few times that you'll ever hear me actually refer to myself as that kind of third person, because I don't ever want to be seen as cocky or full of myself, but tell him that I said that's probably not a good idea. And if he says, well, I don't care, then he might as well have God telling him not to do it. He's going to do it anyway. So thank you for just answer. Need flat feet is affecting me a lot. No problem, man. Shoulder hurts on the eccentric. Any idea what it could be? Well, you probably, honestly, it's hard to diagnose that stuff. Shoulders are so complex. Your best bet is to check out my shoulder mobility training. It is, I put it on my Instagram. I put it on, which is, Instagram /swimhack or @swimhack. And then you can go back and look at some of my shoulder sets that I do with the front raise, lateral raise, and rear bent over raise, as well as my band work. That helps me open up my shoulders and keep them healthy. Try that before you make sure you warm up with that every single time you do anything to do with shoulders, and let me know if that helps you out. Thanks, Shannon. I appreciate that. Let's see. Last question here I got here. Thanks for the answer. I've been doing small off for 5 cycles. After each cycle, 3 weeks. I take 1 or 2 weeks off completely from pressing, and it works well. Went from 120 to 152 kilograms. Should I continue? Hey, if you're progressing, continue. A lot of people ask me, they ask me about my bench program. They ask me about my coaching. They say, what should I do? Should I get you? I'm like, look, if you're making progress and you're not getting injured, you don't need to do anything different. Now, if you're getting impatient and you want to go faster, that's completely up to you. But at some point, you're going to reach kind of a point of diminishing returns, and you're not going to get what you expect. But I help guys all the time to make decisions like that. And a lot of times, if they're 16 years old and they're just not getting the progress that they want, I typically just say, look, you got to go find something, stick with it for a while. Sometimes that stick-to-itiveness is all you need. When you got a guy who's 50 years old who's been through different training cycles and different things and different injuries, you need something a little more custom. You need basically not only a cheering squad to tell you, hey, you can still do this. You don't have to bow out, but this, and this aren't going to work for you. You can't do those exercises for whatever reason. Do this, and this. And that's what, I help guys do a lot of the time. So I'm going to wrap it up here. It's time to go eat, but, please check out benchonly.com. Go there right now. See if there's anything that you like. I do have coaching programs. I have a couple spots left. Actually, I have a discounted rate going on right now. That's it's not going to go on for much longer. But if you hit me up through an email, we can talk about it. And if you're interested, be more than happy with your bench, your squat, deadlift, or a combination of the three. If you're doing one training program and you just want to do some bench and include it in that, and we kind of work around those days, I can do that. Also, check out my hot selling bench program, which is 16 weeks. You can find that on bencholly.com. Plus, I got a bunch of cool shirts that have been very popular, and it's just my raw bench press shirt, a couple of squat shirts, things like that. But if you want to support me and help me out, please go there, check it out. Check out my Instagram, which is at SwimHack. Check out my wife's Instagram at mrs.swimhack, so Miss Swimhack. And I will see you guys later. I appreciate you all tuning in, all the questions. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. Please send me an email. My email can be found on the website, or you can just swimhack@gmail.com. You can always shoot me an email through these channels for YouTube. But I'm going to go grab some dinner and see you guys later.